now we can actually get into the content, I guess. For anyone listening, we had a lot of technical issues with trying to get the squadcast set up and the podcast going. But anyways, how have you been?
I've been good. It's been, I don't know, it's been a really intense few months, but really good. I think I'm maybe starting to at least come out of it a little bit or have some perspective, but I think it's just, I don't know, PhD is hard.
Dude, I can only imagine. I guess, could you give a little bit about yourself for anyone who would be listening?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, my name's Noelle Joy, and I work at the University of Georgia. As I alluded to earlier, I'm getting my PhD, so I'm working in the horticulture department, and I'm studying hemp. So it's been really amazing to be able to work with such a unique plant. And what I'm doing is a research study on and looking at how different drying methods of hemp, like drying outside or in an oven or different things like that, how that impacts the chemistry of the plant. So that's my research. And then I also manage a medicinal herb program where we grow about 40 different medicinal herbs and then dry them down and put them into a line of herbal products that we sell in the community. And I do that at the university as well. So it's like a teaching program as well as a business. And so actually this semester has been really cool. We had our first business intern. She took a class called, I can't remember the name of the class, but it's about like student agricultural entrepreneurship. And so some of the students in the class, they had a plot of land that they were taking care of, and then they planted what they wanted and took care of it and harvested it. And we did like a student farmers market so they could get experience and, you know, figuring out what to plant and how much yield they were going to get and what they were going to price their products as. But one of the students in that class actually kind of worked with me in the business side of things for the herb program. So anyway, I'm really excited and interested in growing medicinal herbs and entrepreneurship and business and doing, trying right now to see how we can do more to connect with our community. So yeah, interested in lots of things, but really just have a love of medicinal plants and science and excited to be doing what I'm doing.
So basically, you're a rock star.
Thank you.
In a nutshell, that's the term we use. No, that's freaking awesome. And I feel like whenever I see your Instagram, it's just like, bam, I'm making tea. Bam, we're cultivating this. Bam, here's our new products. Oh, and tell them what the name of your tea is.
Or the name of which tea?
Wait, okay, a few of the teas, because you have a bunch of funky names, but I guess not just the teas, but as a whole. I remember you had like a really clever name, right?
Yeah, well, the farm that I work at is called U Garden. And so the name of the business is called U Garden Herbs. And then, yeah, we've got several different, the herbal products that we have are several different tea blends. So like one of them is a Tulsi chai that I really like, and Blissful Belly, Color Me Calm, like different teas like that. And then we have seasoning blends. So part of the produce that we grow on the farm, we dry and then make into a couple seasoning blends. One of them is like a Cajun seasoning blend that's really good. And then we have a shiitake Italian mushroom seasoning blend. So I don't know if that's what you were asking for.
No, yeah. No, that's it. I just remember last time we talked, you were just like, you had like the cutest names for your teas and they just sounded so nice. And and are you guys online yet? I forgot. Can you buy online?
So we are online, but it's still only for local pickup. So I know it's so funny because it's like there's so many things we're trying to do, and it's just like I'm managing the program as like a full-time PhD student, and then I've got 2 student workers helping me, but we just don't have the staff right now to manage online orders and shipping. And so I'm trying to, I think we sell our teas through the State Botanical Garden and they offer shipping. So I'm going to try to see if they can get our teas online so I can give that as a resource for people if they're not in Athens but want the teas. So
yeah, no, that's awesome, because as you were talking, I'm like, man, that'd be such a great Christmas gift, like getting someone some good quality tea. But yeah, and okay, also give us a brief synopsis of like your Christmas market. You finally, what I loved in your caption was that it said something like, I finally have the market exactly to where I had dreamt it would be 4 years ago. And I was like, dang, get it.
Yeah. So we just had our big holiday market. So it's our fourth annual one. So this is the fourth year that we've done it because I took over the herb program in July of 2017. So 2017, we had our first holiday market. And I don't know, when I started and took over the herb program, I had this vision in my mind of being a production herb farm, focusing on the business, really streamlining things. And I had envisioned like, really nice sustainable packaging with just like, really pretty labels that had colors on them. And then, being able to partner with folks in the community and having it be really like a community oriented event. And as is the case, like a lot of times we would just be scrambling at the last minute and just being like, okay, we need to, get all this stuff together. And a lot of times I didn't have time to market it. And I don't know, it was just like there was always, each year I was really proud of what we had accomplished, but just it, I was just like, ooh, I want it more. This is, I really like had this vision of what I wanted it to be. And this year we like rebranded all of our packaging, and now our labels are getting professionally printed, and
Wow.
we have compostable tea bags. Yep. So I'm really excited about that. So we switched over, we have completely new packaging, and we've got like SOPs written up for all of our recipes, and we've just like streamlined stuff. And
Wow.
then I was able to partner with 6 other businesses in the community that they came out and sold herbal stuff. So we had a company selling CBD products, we had a company selling herbal vinegars and elixirs, and someone selling bath and beauty products, and a few more folks. And I don't know, it was really cool to kind of look back and think like, every year this is what we were building up to. And then we had like 300 or 400 people come out.
Wow.
3 of the vendors completely sold out of their product. Like a lot of the vendors were really surprised at how many people came and how much they sold, which was amazing, because I think none of us knew what to expect, especially during COVID. But we were able to keep it socially distanced. We had volunteers. We had like 3 folks handling parking. So it was just like really well organized. It seemed like everyone had a good time, and I couldn't feel more proud. Like I was just beaming the whole day, because it was this is what I envisioned. It's made it a reality. And a lot of times I am a very ambitious person, and so it can sometimes feel like people think I'm crazy. Or like they just don't see it. And so it's cool to be able to have an event where it's like, okay, now people can see like what I've been talking about and what I've been working towards, for this whole time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been awesome. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine how wild that must feel, because I remember, the first time I ever kind of truly brought something into actuality. Like it was something so simple. Like I just made a website for my portfolio for getting jobs, and there was different links to take you to my articles and photography and blah 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 blah. But like that was like the first time I really got a taste of like, oh my goodness, I made this. Like this was an idea in my head and I brought it into reality. Like I took it to like here, So congratulations. I'm always getting so excited and pumped up whenever I see your post on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, boy. I'm like, hell yeah. No problem. And it's kind of cool too how you said you had a lot of vendors, because I don't know. I'm still getting used to it and learning, but part of my job, they had me, quote unquote, running the farmers market in our county. And what you just said really resonated with me when you said that your vendors sold out, because I feel like it's a cycle that feeds into itself. The vendors do well because more people come, so then more vendors come because it gets known as a place where you can sell your product. So then when more vendors come, then people there go, oh my gosh, there's a lot of diversity in our vendors at this market, or whatever. And then it just kind of keeps like like a self-feeding positive loop.
Exactly. It's so funny that you say that because it meant so much to me. My herb teacher, Patricia Howell, she's who I first learned about herbs with. I took her, she has a school, and I took it in 2014. And, so she's kind of been along with me in this whole journey. And she came to the market, and it was so cool to be able to like talk about it with her. And she was like, it's a thing now, it's a thing that like people want to be a part of and people want to come to. And like you were saying, it now it's kind of got this positive feedback loop. And so yeah, we have momentum. So I'm kind of like, what do we do next?
Yeah, keep running with it, seriously. And she's so right, like it is a thing. And I feel like especially because it's a Christmas holiday season type event, people can add that to their list of things we like to do every December. Like it
Exactly.
won't be Christmas time if we don't go to our annual Christmas event at the market and get some oils and get some teas.
Yeah, and it was cool because like several people were like, now I've done all my Christmas shopping, and I was like, amazing.
Oh my gosh, that is so freaking cool. One day when we're not doing a podcast, I'm just gonna have to call you up and get your advice on things for the farmers market, because this was my first year doing the farmers market, and 2020 just threw a wrench into so much stuff. Like at first I was like, oh, we should do a farmers market kickoff and maybe we could have the mayor come, or like just publicity type stuff, have the 4-H club get involved. And honestly, what you're saying is really grounding for me, because I sometimes can be a bit of a dreamer, but the thing is there's a difference with just being a dreamer and not really having a plan of action, or beyond that, not having an understanding of a general timeline. Like I'm like, oh, this would be great, but after running, like going to the market and spending time there throughout COVID, and we social distance too, we had like sanitation stations and masks, and it's an outdoor market, so but anyways, it was just like looking back, I'm like, oh, you know what? That probably would have been too soon. I probably needed to build it up more and get more vendors and just figure out the lay of the land by just spending a year just learning and talking to the vendors and seeing how things are done before I try and plan some big blowout when I don't even know, So it's interesting. I mean, I have a quote unquote vision for the farmers market. I'd like to eventually have live music there. I'd like to have more craft vendors, more like, people selling homemade jams and stuff, which we do have some vendors doing that, but we got a new vendor this year who sells local honey, and he's also one of the volunteers that I work with, so it's kind of nice because they feed into each other. But anyways, it's just kind of inspiring to hear your stories. I'm like, yes. And then again, like you said, it took you 4 years to get to that point. So I guess what I'll do now is I'll shift gears, because that's kind of a good segue. And people might be listening saying, what is going on? This has nothing to do with mental health or like mindfulness. But the reason that I have Miss Noelle on today is because she, if you haven't, as we can tell, she is a very productive human being who knows if when there's a will, there's a way. And I asked her if she could come on and kind of tell me some of her tips and tricks, and Noelle, what is it that you do? What are some of the things that you implement in your life and that help you to get your goals? And also you have this really awesome thing on one of your Instagram stories talking about goal making, right? Like how you broke it down. Like, this is how I attain my goals, and these are the things that I implement in my life. And I was like, first of all, that's so cool that, you shared that with people. Because I think that's important too, to try and like build other people up along the way, or at least put that out there for anyone who is trying to say or figure out how can I attain these things that are in my mind and bring them into like the 3D world. Also, do you mind if we like put your Instagram in here so people can like follow the stuff you do? And okay, what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is I am Noelle Joy.
Okay, I know I should know that because we follow each other, but it's me we're talking about.
Well, and I was gonna say, I'm sure we've interacted. What's your hand? Sometimes I like know people by their handle, and then sometimes I know people by their name. And anyway,
yeah,
I was gonna say we've messaged back and forth, but I didn't connect that was you.
Yes, I know my face is all painted. I look like a crazy cuckoo choo.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I was saying we won't share that, but I was just personally curious about
Oh
it.
yeah. No, you're fine. Yeah, I only say that because I'm trying to do this podcast. Whatchamacallit. I keep spacing out today, but
Okay.
anonymously. I'm trying to do this anonymous.
Oh, nice.
So just because like it's mental health and I talk a lot about my own personal experiences and blah blah blah, and I just feel like for now I'd like to keep it anonymous, and then beyond that, like this might sound crazy, but if it were to ever get not popular, but if it were ever to get a decent following,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to ever get in a place where I associate anything with clout, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want it to be like I start getting big headed or like, oh, like it's no longer about me helping people, but it's just about followers and people recognizing me. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that sounds maybe crazy, but I don't think that's how I am as a person, but sometimes I could almost sense like a part of me that could become like that. And so I just don't
Mm.
want that to be me, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. It's two thoughts came to mind when you said that, which is really interesting because I actually have this internal voice where I'm like very conscientious of like being worried about being competitive, I guess. And it's so interesting. There's actually this person that I follow on Instagram. Her name's Andrea Renee, and she I forget where it was I saw it, if it was on a YouTube video or on her Instagram or something like that, but she was like, it's okay to trust yourself with success and like trust yourself that, like, she was talking specifically about money, but it felt very impactful for me because for me with the competition and stuff, it's like I don't know where that comes from, of maybe like feeling like I need to be the best or something like that. A lot of times I'm just competing with myself, but it resonated with me deeply, and it felt really comforting to say like we can trust ourselves. And yeah, I don't know if that
Yeah.
resonates with you at all, but
No, it kind of does, honestly. And it's like, I guess part of it is knowing it's there, you know? So maybe it would be more dangerous if I wasn't aware of that, you know? Because I think there's a
yeah,
lot of things about ourselves and me that we just don't realize about ourselves.
yeah,
But maybe the first step is just knowing. And so that way you can kind of keep an eye on it. You
yeah,
know what I
for
mean?
sure.
And sometimes I wonder as well, like, is my definition of, oh, this could turn into something, or, oh, I feel this part of myself, is it really honestly so minuscule compared to maybe what another person might feel, and I'm just making a bigger deal out of it because I'm just
Mm,
so turned off by the idea of that being a part of me, if that makes sense.
right. Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. And then I feel like and I feel like maybe we have a similar experience in this. I felt like it was wrong to want attention or like to want to be
Wow.
seen, you know?
Wow.
Um, and that's actually something I've been talking about with my therapist. She's like, it's good and it's okay to like want to be seen. And
Interesting.
yeah, so that's something I'm actually healing in myself where it's like, because I before I would always kind of deflect, you know, of like
Yeah.
I didn't that wasn't that wasn't me, or like it's everybody. And I definitely still believe very strongly like I am interconnected with my community and I couldn't do any of what I'm doing without all the people around me.
Right.
And also it's okay to like acknowledge that I worked really hard and I accomplished something big, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's an interesting balance. But yeah, like giving myself that permission or the process of that has been huge.
Yeah, no, balance is such an important word. And two things, I'm probably gonna forget the second thing because that's just that's just me today. But the first thing you were saying about you felt like it was wrong to want attention. I never ever even thought about that before, but it's so true. I feel like it's wrong for me to want any attention. Like it's wrong for me to like I box and I roller skate, like I roller dance or whatever. And
Oh, cool.
I only just recently started posting that on my art Instagram, like on my story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I don't know, I realized like I used to be really into salsa dancing and I never posted once ever to
Wow.
just show anyone. I was kind of decent too. Like, you know, like I would
Wow.
dance all the time, like 3 nights a week in downtown Tampa, like out till 2 in the morning, just salsa dancing. And no one knew. It was like not a soul knew. And
Wow.
I was like, and with this, I was like, maybe I should just post it. Like, it's kind of interesting, you know, like
Yeah.
me boxing or me at the like the skate rink or something, you know? And I'm like, is it wrong that I want people to see I'm doing this? And it's not even like, oh, I just want like likes and validation, but almost like I just want to share this. Like these are cool things that I'm doing, and I just want to like share this, and maybe I'll inspire someone else just like I see, you know, your stuff and you inspire me. Maybe it can be a chain of people inspiring one another with the interesting things that they're doing. I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Because I mean, I used to feel that way, and I would be like, man, it's just like self-indulgent to share about like the personal stuff.
Mm.
Um, but that's where I found so much connection with people. Like I feel I've made so many
Huh.
friends just from being on Instagram, and I think part of that's because I'm sharing my whole self. And that was a really conscious decision and a scary decision that I made last year. And I feel so much more integrated now in all
Mm.
the ways that I show up in the different areas of my life because it was a conscious choice to say I'm going to bring my whole self here, you know.
That's so interesting that you say that. And I've kind of like, you know how they say understanding is cyclical, or you can kind of come back to the same
Yeah.
conclusion through your life. Like with social media, first I just used it, no clue what's going on. No, I guess you could say mindfulness or awareness, just doing it, wanting the likes, wanting the clicks. I was so obsessed with like, this was like 7 years ago now, but I remember one time I went to Utah to work on this like organic farm, and I was more excited about posting the photo than going, like what is going on here? But like again, hey, look, I'll admit the cringe. All right, I'll say it. These are the cringy things about me in my past and sometimes present, and hey, you know what, we just got to be transparent about this stuff. Um but I remember that was when I had realized, like, oh boy, I gotta get rid of this. So then I was all anti-social media. Social media is evil. Blah blah blah. Social media sucks, and it's a vortex. And now I've kind of looped back around to it's a tool. You can use
Yeah,
it for
that's
good.
true.
You can use it for bad. Now, do I feel like the majority of people use it in a way that's non-conducive to them? Yes, I do. Sadly, I
Yeah.
do. I feel like most people use it very mindlessly. They follow things that just really make them feel worse about their bodies and their lives and their homes and their friends and their relationships that are romantic and non-romantic. I do feel like that's the case, but I feel like the more people who use it as a positive tool and
Mm-hmm.
show art and poetry and photos, and I'm obsessed with the pictures people have been posting lately, women of like their bodies at different angles, and they're like, it's all about
Yeah.
angles, and they're like
Yeah.
the quote unquote perfect body, and then like they turn and they're like, this is like reality, you know.
Yeah.
So, and it's still beautiful. So I just like, you know, just that kind of stuff, I feel like is good and motivating and positive. Like I want to post my meal prep, you know, or like
Yeah.
me working out, and just like, hey, you know, this can be used for good as well. It doesn't just have to be like a mindless vortex.
Yeah, definitely. And I go up and down. I mean, social media has been a huge tool in my healing journey and the community that I've built on there. And like I said, showing up in my humanity, you know, and being open about what I'm processing
Yeah.
has been amazing. And then like I needed to take a break from it for like a month.
Yeah.
Just, you know, recently, and coming back, I came back to post all the market stuff, and I like didn't really want to because I didn't feel ready because I it's been just a really hard semester. But I don't know. I think it has a lot of potential, and is you know, I think sometimes it's good to just get a reset because
Mm-hmm.
it is so easy to use it
Yeah,
mindlessly.
dude, I
Um,
know that's the thing. It's like it's good, but then you're like playing with fire almost. It's
mhm.
like I do that too sometimes. So I have to set even boundaries with myself, like because my Instagram that I use is basically set up just for the most part just to showcase anything I create, like any
Mhm.
art, any Etsy things, any music I make, and then my stories I'm just posting like boxing, like fitness stuff,
Mhm.
and then my skate dancing, and then maybe like I'm working on these hoodies and stuff and shirts, so like I'll post those designs. So it's mostly just like an outlet for creating crap, or it's my dog. I love my dog. It's, you know, my dog.
Always
But
good content.
right, exactly. She's the best content. But but I guess what I'm saying is I have to even set boundaries with myself. Like maybe every 3 hours I look at my phone. So I set a timer. Okay, in 3 hours now I can check my phone. Unless it's work related. That's when it always gets so difficult. But or like if I post on my story, I tell myself I'm not gonna look to see who's viewed it. I'm not going to check it
Right.
6 times to see who's freaking viewed my flipping story. Like, I don't care. Like, if
Right?
you want to
Yeah.
see it, great. It's out there. But I don't need to like be viciously checky to see like, okay, who's looked at my story now? You know, like who likes me?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
But also one other thing I was going to say about the interconnectedness, I have a friend who she's the one who got me into skating. I like more of the skate dancing. She's more into the skate park and like going on the
Okay.
ramps and stuff like that. And
Cool.
she was telling me though, like she created her own skate account, and she says it's really like helping her to record her progress, and then to see other skaters, like watching those videos really helps motivate her and work on her form. And then she was saying how she's connected with skaters all across the world, like international skaters who follow her, and they're kind of growing together and like seeing each other's progress, which is cool. Like there's a lot of really positive things. Or I remember with salsa, like I would know about different dances because it's usually word of mouth or like people posting about it,
Right.
so
Right.
like it's kind of hard not to know about certain things. Like it's so that connectiveness in the community. Or last example, last night I was at the skate rink, and this guy was taking videos of us doing like this like dance that one of the girls was trying to teach us. And I was like, oh, can you send me those? And he was like, yeah, here, I'll send you through Instagram. What's your Instagram? And I literally thought in that moment, like, wow, like if I didn't have this, which 9 times out of 10 I wouldn't. Like I only recently got back into Instagram after like maybe not 7 years, 4 or 5 years. And like I thought, wow, if I didn't have this, I wouldn't have this like connection. And other skaters were following me yesterday, and like they were like, oh, are you on the Facebook chat? That's where we let each other know what's gonna happen where. So it's like, there's a lot of positive things that come from it, like community, interconnectedness, knowing about local events, and just stuff like that.
It's definitely like you said, it's kind of playing with fire, but it can be very transforming if
Yeah.
we allow it to be, and have safe container for it.
Container. Yeah. Have you heard the book Atomic Habits?
I've heard of it. I've not read it.
It's so good. I can't freaking find the book. I've lost it somewhere.
Oh,
I
no.
don't know if it's in my office, which I haven't been to my office in forever, because right now we'll go in and rotate, then they'll take us out. But for right now, my boss wants us to go just to stay out of the office. But maybe it's in my office, because anyways, my point is it's a really good book. And there's this one thing he says that I use in my life that actually does help me. It's called pointing and calling, and I think he says it originates in Japan, or at least subway conductors and workers in Japan use this method. And basically, say I'm scrolling on Instagram mindlessly, I'll like, because at first it started out good, like I'm like, oh yep, just posted this cool thing and shared my friend's art that she's doing, good, productive. And then like I go, okay, one motivational weight loss photo, cool, one photo of a skate dance, good. And then I reached that capacity, and then all of a sudden now I'm just aimlessly just like, drool falls. Anyways, what I would do is I would point and say aimlessly scrolling on Instagram, and then shut it off and then close it. So you call yourself out loud, you vocalize that. Or maybe I've watched too many Netflix shows in a row, I'll point and be like, watching this when I should actually be going for a walk or spending time with my dog or cooking dinner for tomorrow night because I'm going somewhere. Like you just call yourself out, and it actually really helps me. I like it.
That's great. I'll start doing that. I feel like maybe I've probably done that. It's like, what am I doing when I come to awareness? But sometimes it takes a while to do that. So that's a good tip.
And if we get enough people doing it, we can just have like a whole like cohort of weirdos who are just like talking to themselves alone, pointing at stuff.
I sometimes talk to myself to hype myself up, but
yes,
different context. I'm like, you got this, Noelle.
You start shaking your own shoulders, like, wake up.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So, I guess if you don't mind starting to share some of the things that you do on a regular basis, or planning for your goals, or I don't know where to start with this. Really, you're the master here. You lead. No pressure.
I was gonna say there's like so many things we could talk about. I mean, in terms of mental health, Um, before, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and this is my fault, by the way, because we're winging it tonight, okay? I usually have questions prepared and notes, but I was like, you know what, me and Noelle are just gonna wing it. And literally earlier she was asking me what my Instagram is, and earlier, wait, no, I was trying to ask what her Instagram is, and then she was also like, also, what's your podcast called?
Oh my gosh.
So
Well,
we're
it's been
just
so informal when we're like connected about this. So
no, I love it. That's what I'm saying. Like I love it. I literally love how we're just like doing it. We're just like, we're just gonna talk. We don't know what's happening, and that's okay.
a lot of times when I'm listening to other podcasts, I love when people just like let the conversation take them, So hopefully that will be this experience for us.
Oh hell yeah. I think we're already there. So
I was gonna say that I used to feel like I had it figured out how to take care of my mental health. And, there were the things that I relied on, like just taking care of myself in terms of basic needs, like getting enough sleep, eating 3 meals a day, nourishing myself with food, consuming herbs in as many forms as I can. And I think this year it kind of felt like everything went to crap. And so it's been a huge learning year for me. And I think a maturing that I've been experiencing. I listened to a podcast recently. The podcast is called Create the Love, and Mark Groves does it. He talks a lot about like relationships and mental health and stuff. And he interviewed this person named Frances Weller. And I'm actually going to pull up just the name of it because I don't want to get it wrong, because, that researcher part of me, it's like, it's got to be accurate. I can't just like shoot from the hip. Okay. So the name of the podcast is called Finding Your Soul in the Darkness, The Alchemy of Initiation, Soul Work, and the Art of Ripening. And the reason why I bring that up is because I felt like when I listened to that podcast, it put language to a lot of what I've been experiencing this year. And before, I think how I approached my mental health was kind of in a selfish way, as like I want to feel good. And I think the experience that I've had this year is broadening my perspective of I take care of myself so I can take care of my community. And I am interconnected with my community. And before, I think I got stuck in a lot of maybe poor mental health patterns. And I still do get really stuck of anxiety and fear of what people think. And I think the difference in what I've been experiencing this year, because of, it's been a really challenging year for everyone. And now I kind of feel like I need to focus and work on my mental health so that more of me can be available for like the way that I want to show up in the world. And before I was like, I don't deserve to heal. I think I had a lot of that mindset. And so I tended to get stuck. And now it's like, it doesn't feel like it's in a martyr way of like, I'm just doing this for somebody else, but like, I don't know, it gives context to my kind of, I guess, to my journey, and like really paying attention to my mental health and really wanting to grow. And so all of the things that I mentioned before still help a lot. And like I said, getting enough sleep, eating enough, like finding rituals. For me, like drinking herbal tea is just a really sacred ritual. And I just drink tea all day long. It just like nourishes me on so many levels. And then I think something big for my mental health this year has been, reaching out to more folks. Um, I think I tended to isolate myself a lot, and so something that's making a big difference in my mental health is the process of learning how to ask for help and how to rest. I recognized this year that, I mean, I don't like to use labels, but I think I do have some workaholic tendencies. And it's really interesting actually trying to learn how to love myself and accept myself and anyway, it's been really interesting, like learning how to rest and learning how to just like chill out and not feel like I need to work all the time and produce all the time to feel good enough, to feel worthy of love, to feel worthy of belonging, to feel worthy of help. And I remember, I mean, this was not that long ago. This was maybe like 2 months ago. I, took a day off and I just like watched movies all day. And then I felt like shit at the end of the day.
Oh.
I was like, just like the voices in my head, are like, you're worthless if you're not producing something.
Oh, wow.
And so it's, yeah, it's been really interesting just to recognize like how deep these patterns are. And part of, I guess, what I'll say to give more context to this year, I've really started engaging in anti-racism work and really putting a lot of energy and intention into kind of deconstructing and identifying these systems that I'm a part of because I was raised, as I don't know, just, I mean, looking at like white supremacy and even like ableism and capitalism and patriarchy and religion, like all these things that I was kind of inundated, or not inundated with, but I want to say brainwashed. I feel like that's a really intense word, but kind of brainwashed by, of, unpacking all of those things. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling right now, and I feel like I'm kind of still in like a very messy place, but all of these things are working together, and I think have all been a huge part of my mental health in terms of breaking free from these ideologies and ways of being where our worth is tied to what we produce, or our worth is tied to like fitting into a certain culture, which really has damaging impacts on our mental health. Even just this idea of individualism, I think, is very damaging to our mental health. And so I don't know, I feel that this year, it's interesting to be on this podcast because I'm like, I don't know the answers to anything. I don't know anything. I feel more insecure now than I've ever felt in terms of knowing what the right answers are, because I think now I'm kind of at a point where there isn't any right answers. It's like we're all on our own journey and all of our experiences should be validated. And yeah, anyway, I feel like I just went on all these different rabbit trails, but yeah.
No, that was great. I was like, man, she should be like a speechwriter or something over here. No, that was good. You made a lot of really good points, and one thing that popped into my head when you said like fitting into the mold of what we should be, or something along those lines. I was literally talking with a good friend of mine today, earlier, and we were talking about beauty standards, and I don't want to like take this ship and turn it left when we're going right, but we were talking about beauty standards and stuff, and I just told her how it was so funny because I remember because she said at first, she said I was a little chunk in middle school. She's so funny. She's like, I was a little chunk and I didn't even know it. And I was just like, but it's funny, like you didn't know it, you saw yourself as a person. You saw yourself as just, a human being. You didn't realize those things yet at that age, and then that reminded me of the story when I was in elementary school. Okay, so preface, I've had braces twice now. I had regular braces, and then I had Invisalign in college. And I remember being in elementary school, looking in the mirror at my teeth, and they were like very jagged on the bottom and like smushed in and stuff. And I remember putting gum over my teeth and pretending I had braces and joking, and then thinking, I love my teeth so much. My teeth are so beautiful. I have such a great smile. And I just loved my teeth so much, and I didn't see anything wrong with them. And then it's just funny because, you know, our society really values straight teeth. And I remember being in college and people saying, who will be unattracted to someone because they don't have straight teeth? And like almost everyone raised their hand. I remember just being like, wow, you know, like it was either unattracted or who finds it very unattractive or who would make that question, you know. And at that point, I had already had one round of braces. And so like my teeth were, they shifted back because I didn't wear my retainers like I used to. Side note, whoever's listening, wear your retainer if you already put all that money and time and pain into it. But anyways, I just thought it was funny because it's like there's these things we see in ourselves as beautiful or normal, and then, you know, all of a sudden you get older and, you know, it's like certain things that you didn't see any problem with that there really isn't a problem with, are all of a sudden strange. And it's funny, I've been getting really into the Weird History channel on YouTube. Have you heard of them?
I
Love.
haven't.
It's really funky. I'll have to send you one of the links after this. It's just quick 10-minute videos on different parts of history, but that's really helped open my eyes because they talk about like beauty standards in different eras, and they mention how like geishas would blacken their teeth intentionally, and then I think it was in Rome they would sometimes blacken their teeth, and there's just different styles that were important at different eras and different times, which is crazy to us to think, well, we whiten our teeth, you know, why would I blacken my teeth, or you know. And then they go over, like, I've seen videos talking about the different body styles and that were, you know, desired, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, can't see me moving my fingers, but desired in different eras, like the super slim figure, or like the medieval portrait of the wealthier women who were, you know, a little squish, you know, had a little bit extra to love, you know what I mean? Like, and now it's this super unattainable hourglass figure, you know. So of course I think it's important to be healthy and take care of your body. Like, you know, I do believe like there's a point where it should be like, you know, you get what I'm saying though, right? Like,
Totally,
yeah.
totally. I mean, so kind of going back to the Instagram thing, I've started following a lot more diverse accounts, you know, so it
Yeah.
can like normalize different bodies, even because we're so ingrained in our culture that there is like this standard of beauty, like thin white woman, you know. And I there's so much more out there, and we've like we've been brainwashed to
Yeah.
believe that this one type of person is the ideal to which everybody else should be like measured against, and then we all find ourselves lacking. And like really, it's probably some white man in power like made up this construct and making all of us like feel bad about ourselves. And so I mean, I think it fits in perfectly with what we're talking about, because so much, I feel like really a lot of mental health is, I mean, not a lot, but I don't know, a part of it is how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about our body, and like how we exist and interact with the world. And these unattainable, ridiculous beauty standards don't help at all. and there's so much more, there's so much beauty outside of that, and diversity, and like self-expression that we don't allow when we try to dictate what is beautiful and what is not beautiful. I think it's like, it makes me angry actually thinking about it, you know?
Yeah. And it's interesting too. I think this might have been on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm not sure. But he was mentioning one time, like, I thought, I don't know, forget it. Anyways, my point is someone somewhere in the universe of my brain said, you know, and the interesting thing about looks are you didn't do anything to earn them, you know, like they're just there. It's not a gift, it's not talent. You're just praised for the way you genetically had the dice rolled for you, which is such an interesting point. You know what I mean? So, which of course, if you are beautiful, which most, like everyone's beautiful, but you know what I'm saying? Like if you are that standard of beautiful, like good for you. Like that's amazing. Like seriously, like strut it, you know, show it off. But like everyone should, you know, be able to, I don't know. I just, wish more people, including myself sometimes, were able to really just kind of embrace who they are physically, or not compare too much. There's a lady who I really like, Breeny Lee. She's on YouTube. She makes me feel so confident when I listen to her. But
I love that.
she's amazing. She actually has helped me a lot in my self-confidence.
Nice.
Like so much. Sometimes I just listen to one of her videos and I walk out there like, hell yeah, I'm getting the job. I deserve this and that. I'm asking you out for dinner. Like, yes. But she was saying a good tip with Instagram is, because she's always advocating for you know, how Instagram and social media can kind of inflate things and give a false reality or whatever. And she was saying, like, I always recommend your ratio is like 3-1 or something. So three people who are more like where you're at in life, and then one person maybe who is where you would like to be, so that way you can make sure that you're not making your feed just like, I don't know, whatever people follow that's unrealistic, like mansions and like edited photos and like, just stuff like that. So that was a good point. I like that.
I like that. It actually made me think of something else, because you were talking about the goals earlier, and I guess I was like, we haven't really talked about goals yet, but
I know.
we can bring it back around there. I mean, so what just popped into my mind was something for me, also a huge part of what has been helpful for my mental health is to allow myself to dream. And a very impactful book that I read was The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And this was a couple years ago. And it'd be interesting to read it now. I think there's like certain books in our lives that are just like exactly what we need in that moment. And one of the chapters in the book was him describing or outlining the process of writing your vision. And he gave you 7 categories. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but it was, personal health, community, finances, business, those types of things. And in the book, he talks about, throw caution to the wind, don't think about it in the context of your current reality. But if you had all the money, all the time, anything you could want, what would you do with your life? What's your vision? And I wrote it down, and it was interesting. It definitely, doing that showed me areas in my life that I needed to make adjustments, where I wasn't living in a way that would help me move towards my dreams. And I think sometimes in terms of the relationship between goals and mental health, it can be really challenging to feel stuck, or to not feel inspired, or to feel like powerless. And so I guess as a mental health practice, that's been huge for me, is allowing myself to dream. And that's part of my personality too. It may not be, I guess I want to acknowledge that, like, someone else might find that really overwhelming, or to make goals and then feel paralyzed by them. So I don't want to say that what works for me will work for everybody, but giving myself permission to dream up something bigger than my current reality gives me a lot of inspiration, and it brings me a lot of joy.
It's exciting.
Yeah, like something to work towards. Yeah,
no, I can definitely see that. One thing also, do you ever have you heard of Jordan Peterson? Okay, I really like Jordan Peterson. I actually saw him live one time in St. Pete. But anyways, he's a professor, and he's done some touring, and he's written some really helpful books. But at one of his talks, he discusses like this thing you can try with yourself to kind of motivate you, and like you said, reevaluate the things that could be changed in your daily patterns and habits. And so he asks you to like write down like good habits, bad habits, things that you're doing right now, and then take that, amplify that, and see, okay, if I do continue these patterns just as I am, probably honestly in most cases just as you've been doing, where will I be 5 years from now? And be honest with yourself and write that down. So maybe like, I maybe someone's watching too much Netflix, or they're trying to be better to their body and eat healthier, and they just keep, going to that McDonald's drive-through or something, like, okay, in 5 years, I actually might be in a worse situation physically, or in 5 years, if I had kept watching Netflix instead of just sitting down and starting to write that book, I will still have not written my book. I will still have not lost the weight, potentially have gained more. I will have maybe lost this relationship in my life because this person says I have an anger issue, and now I've lost some important people to me. I will have, so then he says, so write all the worst things, like all the bad things you're doing, and then he says, now write that as if, now flip all of those things to the best. And where would you be 5 years from now? Well, in 5 years, I can definitely have that book done. And if I just cut out soda, I can at least have lost, 15 or 10 pounds within 5 years of, because I drink Mountain Dew every day, I don't know, have it on IV or something, IV drip, but like, which, by the way, I'm not a soda person, but if I were, it would be Sprite on IV, or orange soda, root beer. Anyway, but you know what I mean? So that was kind of a few options right there. I guess I'd have like a little cocktail going, but anyway, so that's kind of a cool thing that I've done with myself too, personally. Like, okay, these are the things I'm doing, and if this keeps up, in 5 years, this is where I will be. And then he always says, run like hell. So like, run like hell from those bad attributes, or those ones that aren't really pushing you forward, but rather holding you back from being a truer form of yourself and closer to the things that you want to bring into reality.
Yeah. It reminds me of a quote. I think it was in the Success Principles, but it said, you overestimate what you can accomplish in a year, but you underestimate what you can accomplish in 5 years.
What?
Like, it's so true.
Yeah, it freaking is. It seriously is. Like, I think about that sometimes. Like, when I was younger, I was always like, I want to write a book by the time I'm 24. That's my goal. But I had no idea how I would do it. I did not have any kind of game plan. I did not set time aside. I did not study and watch videos on, well, at the time there may not have been as much resources in that regard, but now I watch a lot of videos on book writing and, tips and tricks. And so I just like threw it out there. Like, I want to do it. Nice. That's great. I want $1 million. Like, how am I going to get there? So it's just kind of interesting to have a game plan. And I don't really know how I got on that tangent. I just saw my cat on the bed. She looks so freaking cute right now, like bundled up on my jacket. So it was really distracting. Sorry. She's so cute. Anyways,
Don't ever apologize for that, but I feel like that's actually a good segue to talk about, like, if you have a 5-year goal or a big goal, like how do you break it down?
Yeah.
And I guess if you wanted, I'm happy to share my process for doing that.
Do it. Also, I just remembered my point. You brought it back to me. Yeah, my point was, if I had at least written just like 20 minutes a week, at 20, by now I would have at least had my first ever like book. It probably wouldn't have been that great, because they always say your first book is kind of like the test run, or you know what I mean? Like, your first book's probably not going to be all that amazing, which is fine. Like, that's the process, and it's understanding that it's not always that instant gratification, and it takes time and diligence. And if it were easy, we'd all be authors. If it were easy, we'd all be treating our bodies super well, and like be at the weight that we should be at, or that's healthy for us. If it were easy, we'd all be our own boss at this point, or have our own album on Spotify. Some of these things are maybe things that I'd like, but but anyways,
those are all amazing things.
Thank you. I'm bowing right now. Anyways,
quick question though. Yeah. Okay, but I know we're kind of circling. We're all kind of circles in this conversation. But what kind of book do you want to write?
Well, funny that you ask. So I have a few book ideas. One is called, should I say the name? Do I dare say the name of it out loud?
Yes. I'll celebrate it. I'm gonna clap when you say it.
It's called, well, so far it's called Dendritic, which sounds funny. Yeah. It's a sci-fi book basically, and it's just about way in the future. And oh my gosh, it's actually kind of ironic. I started this book idea literally years ago, so sorry guys, but it's about a disease like takes over the world. So maybe this isn't like the best book to publish now because everyone's so freaking sick of the pandemic theme, but I'll have to wait till like 10 years from now to bring this one out. But anyways, it's just about a research lab way up or a research lab in the Arctic, and they're untouched by it because of their location, and it's kind of up to them to find a cure. And their research lab has different um, it's a global organization, and they're in different parts of the world. And I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll just say it on this podcast, and anyone who ever wants to read the book just will know the spoiler. But she finds out things like, oh, the organization she works for is actually behind it, and then they bring in a patient who has it, but he's not having like side effects, and they want to study his blood, and she has to study him through the glass, and then she starts falling for him while she's studying him, and then there's a lot of plots and twists, and is this person with them or against them? Who knows about the secret? Who doesn't? Like, who gets like banished out into the wastelands of like the Arctic, and people who have quote unquote lost their minds in the past who were actually onto them, and it's just all sorts of different things like that. I don't know. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm curious with the name of the book, because aren't dendrites something to do with like synapses and neurons and something in the brain, or am I just completely?
No, you probably know a lot more about that than me. I remember for like this name, I named it so long ago, but I just remember I looked up the names for ice crystals or something like that, and dendritic sounded awesome to me. And I was like, that's going to be the name of their base, and that's going to be, the name of the book, basically. So, but that was literally, I think at this point now, 3 years ago. I mean, there's other book ideas I have. I just love storytelling, and I noticed that I always guess all the plot twists when I watch movies and shows. And I've had more than once someone say, just write your own freaking book. Like, you know all the storylines before it even happens. You ruined this for me. I'm like, sorry. I'm not very fun sometimes to watch movies with, because I'm just like that person making all the commentary, and like I'm some people's worst nightmare when it comes to movies.
Or it makes you so much fun to watch movies.
Thank you. Like, I really think it's fun to sit down and watch a cheesy Hallmark movie and just laugh the whole time at how ridiculous everything happening is, or Lifetime.
It's so interesting. I feel like when I don't know if it's because of whatever, and I don't even know what to call like the journey that I've been on over the past couple years. But I feel like when I watch a movie now, I'm like, an hour and a half is not enough time to flesh out a character. Like, it feels so shallow. It's weird. I didn't used to watch movies like that before, but now I'm like, there's no way. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
But it's just like there's so much more that I want to know. And when it's so shallow, it's like, I don't know. It's made watching movies really different for me in the last year or so.
That's interesting. Yeah. Sometimes I hate the fact that my brain always has to pick and notice all these little things. Like, that's not realistic. That's not realistic. I don't care if there's talking dogs in this movie. In the bounds of the realm of this talking dog movie, that's not realistic. Even for this movie with talking dogs. And especially since I've started listening to a lot of YouTubers talk about writing tips and habits and this and that. And sometimes I'll watch a movie and I'll just be like, oh, there wasn't enough of like character development before like the plot twist, or before the call to action started. We didn't get enough of a feel of, or the call to action started too soon, or like or just cheesy crap, or like, the highs and the peaks and valleys of like, okay, there was way too many valleys. Like, we're just dragging this movie out. Someone needs to yell cut, kiss the bride, we're done. Like, have you seen The Runaway Bride?
Yeah. Wait, aren't there two?
Oh Lord, they made a second one?
Well, I know the one with like Richard Gere and what's her name?
Is she from Pretty Woman?
Yes.
Okay, that
Julia
one.
Roberts.
Julia Roberts. Yeah, I saw that one the other day on Netflix. It was actually, I read some not so great reviews. I love reading movie reviews and all that stuff, but I I read some not so great reviews, but I really liked the movie. It's just it didn't know when to stop. Like, it got to the point where I was just like, okay, are you gonna marry him or not? Like, just decide already. Like, so
Right.
anyways, that was another tangent, but yeah. I basically, in a nutshell, I overanalyze movies, and I guess it's good to know I'm not the only one.
Totally. I actually love reading movie reviews too, and then it'll be like bad reviews, and I'm like, I say that about like not feeling like it's shallow, but also I enjoy every movie, you know. So like
Yeah, I mean the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like I want to
right?
watch the cringe. Like let me seek some cringe here. Like I want to
Mhm.
have a hard time looking at that screen. Have you seen have you have you seen Among Us with Charlie Sheen?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's on free YouTube. I was just recently in Florida, and at my Airbnb, they had YouTube on the TV, and I was like, I need a freaking break. So I was like, I just needed like a zone out session,
Hmm.
and I was going through the free movies, and it was Charlie Sheen, and what's that facial hair where it's just like this? What is that called?
A goatee?
He had a go tea for the majority of the movie. It was so ridiculous, so corny, so over the top. I'm gonna put the link to his movie in the description of this episode, just because I
Can't wait to watch it.
yes, I hope you or at least one person listening to this will see the glory of Among Us with Charlie Sheen. Probably one of his best pieces. Just gotta say.
I was gonna say, I mean, I love a good, completely mindless romantic comedy, you know?
Yeah. I'm kind of sad the era of rom-coms is dead. Like, are you sad
Mm.
about that? Is it just me?
I, I don't watch a lot of movies, so I didn't know that era of rom-coms is dead.
When I say I get into it, I sometimes get really into movies. Like it's bad. Like I just love like researching. But yeah, they say like the rom-com era is dead. Like it was basically kind of like the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s and like the 90s and stuff. And now rom-coms aren't as big of a deal. I will say going back and watching a lot of the rom-coms I used to enjoy, it's like sometimes I just want to like hit my head against a wall. I'm like, what am I watching? And then sometimes there's we should talk about that one day. The toxicity that is given to us and fed to us as healthy and normal in a lot of movies when it comes to
Mm.
relationships.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Savior complex or like women needing to be rescued and then
All sorts
yeah.
of stuff. All sorts of stuff. I mean, there's some really good videos on YouTube I've seen that really kind of broke it down and seriously, literally opened my eyes to
Yeah.
the way I viewed relationships and seeing kind of, I guess, some of the stuff that put me in. I don't know, helped me to walk in the circumstances I shouldn't have. Obviously, I'm the one responsible, but I'm just saying, like, in part, seeing what I thought should be a relationship should be like in movies and growing up as a kid, and this being one of the main things I look to as okay, this is how the archetype for a relationship.
Right. Right.
And even beyond just the savior complex, a lot of times it talks about how in movies usually the most passionate relationships are the ones that are like up down up down up down
Yeah.
everywhere, crazy loud, yelling in the street, crying in the rain, making out, after he just threw a lamp or something, like just unhealthy relationships. Like a
Yeah.
healthy relationship, I guess, isn't as fun to watch on TV. So that's maybe why they're so up down,
Mm.
because nobody
Mhm.
wants to just watch people sitting at the park feeding ducks all day. But like, you know,
A stable relationship with good communication.
yeah, and people who are in touch with their emotions and like emotionally available.
Aren't
But
playing games with each other.
yeah, exactly. And so like, and we see that and go, oh, that's passion. That's
Yeah.
true love.
Yeah.
And then another thing was like this hyper codependency, like a lot of the vampire type stuff with Twilight is just so toxic, but it was built up to be at the time like this beautiful relationship, but it's like
Yeah.
no, they're obsessed with each other. They can't breathe without each other. This is horrible, like you should be over the moon with the person you're with, yes, and you should love them dearly and care for them a lot, but you need to have your own life. You need to have boundaries. You need to have
Hmm.
space. You should be two whole
Yeah.
individuals coming together to
Yeah.
create this mega individual, not like
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like this huge potential for synergy, where like
hmm
two whole people come together and then create something that like neither one could create on their own, but
mm.
it's two whole people coming together. They don't need each other to feel complete, but like they add to each other is yeah.
Exactly. It's like I want you, but I don't need you, and it should always be like that. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I can only imagine, when you're married and you live with someone all the time, it can be probably really hard not to. And I have friends who are married and stuff, and or friends who are in their 40s and 50s and stuff, and they'll tell me like, yeah, I've been told, you know, it's hard. I catch myself slipping into that cycle or that mindset of, we are one. But so, and I guess it's not always a bad thing if done correctly, but I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm just going to stop talking.
It would be interesting to have like a diagram of this conversation. It's amazing. I feel like we are going to bring it all back full circle, though.
Yeah, it will come back. Oh, I have one other thing I want to mention. Also, before I mention that thing I want to mention, my chair is really old and squeaky, and I got it at Goodwill. And it's just like, I feel like I really need to invest in a quieter chair, because when I'm editing, I always hear like, I'm like, and I'm very fidgety, so I'm like always making all this squeaky noise.